I look very elvish in this hat. Hello, folks. Hello over there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the special. We're already getting calls. The place is blown up. This is the special Happy Holidays edition of Comic Shop Talk Live. Brought to you by Black Hat Comics and Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. Shop online at black-cat-comics.com. We're keeping you connected to the comic book community. I'm Mark.
I'm Francie.
And we have a ho-ho holiday-licious show ready to go for you. Going to be a lot of fun. We are going to talk our favorite comics of 2020. We are going to talk some big events with the first things rolling out for 2021. We're going to sneak in a little conversation about this week's comics, and we're going to have some fun doing it. This is an interactive program. We want to hear from you. We want your questions, comments, concerns, queries, and conundrums, and we will address those in elvish fashion. And we want to know what's at the top of your stack, what you're reading, what you're looking forward to reading, all that good stuff. So feel free to join in the conversation.
You do look like a Keebler elf.
I do have a little Keebler-esque going on right now.
Though I prefer Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, well, you know, that happens a little closer to the day. So we always like to start the show with a little comic shop news. Comic shop news.
Comic shop.
Big news that I was very excited to hear this week, and that is Infinite Frontier #0. The big announcement from DC Comics.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Infinite Frontier #0.
Right.
They're all talking about Infinite Frontier #0.
Do you know what he's talking about? Does anybody know what he's talking about?
It is the latest and biggest and best news from DC Comics, and I'm real excited about it because I've been waiting for some announcements. As you know, DC has had some pretty rough news in the last few weeks. It's been a bumpy ride over at the DC Comics offices, and there's been a lot of talk about what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, blah blah blah. Right. So we finally know that yes, there will be DC Comics after Future State.
Whoa, hooray!
There's a big one shot called the aforementioned Infinite Frontier #0.
Super.
It's a little anthology book that will lay out everything that's going to be rolling out. And they made a whole bunch of announcements about creative teams and titles and new titles and all that fun stuff.
So there will be DC Comics in 2021. Yes,
and it will be the DC universe that we all know and love. They're not, new 52ing the whole thing. They're not blowing it up and read. A little bit. There's a few explosions here and there. They're blowing up a few things. It's comics, So it's all over all the comic shop media, and you can check all that out. Won't go all into it, but
it's exciting.
Yes, it is exciting, and they're going to do the whole Future State that we've talked about, and you've all seen all that stuff. And they're going to launch some new characters, and some of those new characters will be part of all this stuff that rolls out. There's going to be some multiverse characters coming on. There's going to be all kinds of new stuff, but there's also going to remain a lot of the established stuff, and that's fun. So check out all that kind of stuff. Be on the lookout for, again, Infinite Frontier #0, probably in March. Justice League #59 with Brian Michael Bendis taking over Justice League with a whole new team.
That'll be good.
Very excited about that. You know I love Justice League. You know I love Bendis. I love Justice League is totally one of those books that you can move and shake and do all those things. Bat Family, a lot of Teen Titans news. That's fun and long overdue, I might add. When you see the announcements with Teen Titans, you'll see that they're shaking up the teams. You know, some young Teen Titans, some of the Titans like Nightwing and Starfire. And like I say, I feel like a lot of that's long overdue, unifying the Titans books. Anyway. Just happy to see all kinds of DC Comics announcements.
Good times.
And
other news?
I guess, yeah. What's
other news is if you've been under a tree the last 12 hours, you might have missed under a tree. That's weird. Why did I say that? I don't know. You might have missed the announcement of the new Boba Fett show coming to Disney Plus. Is it called Book of Boba?
Yes.
Oh.
Book of Boba Fett.
So if you watched Mandalorian from last night and don't know what I'm talking about, watch it again and watch all the way through to the end of the credits. You'll get a little something at the end there.
Bonus trailer. There.
Bonus.
Yes.
And dude, wasn't that a phenomenal season?
That was, yes, it was a phenomenal season.
I laughed.
It was already another great
No
season
spoilers.
of the best show ever, and then they ended it on simultaneously an incredible high point and an incredible low point at the same time. It was absolutely amazing. Kudos to you, Favreau. You're like my favorite cinematic creator of all time.
There's a bromance there. And they're doing season 3.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to that next year.
Yep. And last week we talked about all the huge announcements that came out for Disney Plus, and obviously with the one last night, they still have a few secrets up their sleeves. So that's pretty awesome.
Moving into 2020, the nice list, the naughty list, Mandalorian top of the list. For 2020.
Top of the list.
So good.
Yeah, we can slide out of comic shop news and into okay. Let's face it, 2020 is no one's best year. No one's best year. But, I'm an optimistic kind of guy. I like to have fun. So we're going to talk about some of the high points and some of the fun things, some of the cool things that happened in the world of comics in 2020. We got a lot of great books this year. Yeah, we got a lot of great books. We got a lot of great things. So, and certainly, yes, Mandalorian season 2 was definitely one of them.
And The Crown. That's off topic.
But that's off
topic. So I have a long list of nice list. I have Tom King, top of the nice list, with Batman finishing up his Batman run, Rorschach, Strange Adventures, like any and all things Tom King on the nice list. Anything Tom Taylor. So Deceased, 7 Secrets, The Question, Black Label stuff. All of that was just amazing. Loved it. And Batman, Catwoman that came out last week?
2 weeks ago.
That's like one of the best things I've ever written or I've ever read.
That was really, really great.
So good. And you have to go back and watch the, I can't say it because I'll spoil it. Go back and watch some of the animated movies from the Batman universe to kind of figure out what he's tapping into there. It's really good.
There you go.
Lots and lots of stuff.
Keep rolling. I like your nice list.
My nice list. So Deceased, Dead Planet, amazing. Love the horror. Any and all things Joe Hill. So the Hill House label was a huge success. Joe Hill knows how to curate some horror with Plunge, with Kelly Jones in Daphne Byrne, and legendary Mike Carey on Dollhouse Family. All of those books that came out of Hill House were just like top notch. Loved them. As a horror fan, they just satiated my dark heart. So they were all very good, very well written, and very well drawn. So any and all things Hill House. I don't see any solicitation for more stuff, which makes me really sad because I want more. I need more. Please, sir, can I have some more?
I think he's locked up with IDW.
Probably. Yeah. Lots of lock and key stuff.
Oh, I guess that's a bad pun. I didn't even know it.
Dun. He is going to be doing some work with Sandman. The Sandman universe is merging with Lock and Key universe next year, which is super duper exciting. So that'll be fun. And then non-major label stuff, Devil's Highway from AWA, Department of Truth, Storyteller's Ghost. Boy, that 4-issue miniseries, which is the last one. Perfection. Loved it. Made me cry. Made me totally terrified at the same time. It's great. And those are the main ones I wrote down on my nice list.
To add just a little bit to that, I think Black Label might top the list. Certainly for DC. I think for DC, it certainly tops the list. If that started in 2020, there might have been 2019. I don't remember anything before 2020. So I'll just stick there. I think Black Label is one of the biggest things in comics in 2020.
AKA DC Vertigo.
Because when you mention like Question and just all the different things, I love the I love the range of content. They do things like Last God that have nothing to do with the DCU.
Yeah.
And then you get Harley and the Birds of Prey, which of course is DCU.
Yeah.
They do oversized magazine-sized things. They do regular comic-sized things. There's Black Label is only defined by mature reader content, not by any other kind
Genre.
of guideline. And I really appreciate that. And I think that works very well.
That's what DC Vertigo was.
Yeah, for sure. Though you never really saw DCU stuff in Vertigo, or at least very rarely did you see anything in Vertigo that tied into the main DCU.
Swamp Thing was.
Yeah, but you never saw like a Batman Vertigo book. You never saw like a Superman Vertigo
That's
book.
True.
And so Black Label lets them do things like that, and that's fun.
That's true.
Good
times.
Good times. Do you want to go to your naughty list, or?
Well, why don't we dip into your nice list?
Okay, so
we'll stay in the nice category.
In the way that Black Label was huge for DC, I think the X Renaissance, as I call it, that's my own thing. I haven't like seen that anywhere, but Hickman's, because I don't want to. It's not a reboot. It's not a relaunch. It's not a blow up and start over thing. And so I had to come up with well, then what is it exactly? Well, it's just sort of a renaissance. Hickman came in and he said to the guys, "Hey, give me all of the X books and let me do whatever I want." And astonishingly, they said, "Sure, dude, go for it." And I think it worked really well for all parties concerned. I think the current X fans who committed were rewarded. I think new former fans who came back in because they heard about the hype stayed.
Yeah.
They found at least one and probably 2, 3, 5 books that they enjoy, and they came back to comics. So I think, like I say, the X readers were happy, new readers were happy, and I think Marvel was happy because the sales came in, the books are successful, and they got the X-Men back on track. Whether it's rumor or fact, and I think it's somewhere in between. The rumor is that when Sony was making, Sony or Fox, whoever it is that makes the X-Men movies, I guess it's Sony. When Sony was making the X-Men movies, Marvel gave it up, and Marvel let all the X-Men comics die, and Marvel let the whole franchise, comics-wise, Marvel didn't care about any of that anymore because somebody else was making that money.
Wow.
And there's a lot of good sense to that theory. The Death of Wolverine, #1. Why do you kill off your most popular character for years? If you anyway. So the theory was that Marvel just didn't care about it anymore, and then the minute Sony sold it back to them, they wanted to get X-Men back on the table. And if that's true, then I think they succeeded because, like I say, X of Swords was really successful. The initial launch was very successful with Powers of X and House of X and all that good stuff. So anyway, they gave it to Hickman. They let him do whatever he wanted. He's established something really solid that has now spread out and become the total Krakoa is a total thing in the Marvel Universe. X-Men Fantastic Four miniseries is being called one of the best books of 2020. So like I say, right out of the gate, I got to say kudos for Marvel, to Marvel for resuscitating the X line, because we all know that that's been more than half of their business model for as long as anyone can remember. And seeing everybody reading X books again makes me happy. So that was cool.
What's up, Arnell? So Arnell's asking, what would you say are the top selling comic lines this year? We can only talk about us, but you can look at, I think Bleeding Cool and ICV2 do like a standardize across the nation. They look at book sales across all the different distribution centers. So you can look at that for more statistical.
What's the Dog Man?
But for us, it's been Batman for sure. Batman, all things Batman.
Batman's always the answer to that question.
X-Men and Amazing Spider-Man. But that's not different this year than any other year, honestly. What else? Those are the top 3. When I deal with
anything that says Dark Knight Death Metal on it, whether or not you liked it, it's probably some of the top selling, at least of the big 2. But to be really honest, like say, what's that Dogman, whatever that graphic novel is? Everybody was like, oh, graphic novel sales went up 40% this year over last year. But that was one title that's not a Marvel or DC book. I'm sure somebody out there knows what I'm talking about.
We sold it, and we sold out of them.
Yeah.
Dogman.
So, but like I say, that's the biggest selling thing of the year. Far and away the biggest selling graphic novel of the year.
Yeah.
But here in our little corner of the world, Batman is always the answer to that question. Though it brings up the next thing after the X Renaissance is Venom. Venom is one of the big, huge things this year. And that's... I lied when I started this show because I said nobody had a great year this year, and that's totally not true. As you mentioned, Tom King had a great year this year. He's still alive, still employed, and has some of the top-selling comics out there. So Tom King had a great year.
And he's got WandaVision coming out.
And he's got, so I don't think his name's anywhere on that.
It should be.
Donny Cates. Donny Cates is having a great year. If you're Donny Cates, you don't even answer your phone anymore. You just check the messages. And so Donny Cates is having a good year. And Cullen Bunn is the other guy having a good year. That guy writes for every publisher there is. And I don't know him personally, but Cullen, if you're watching, I'm guessing you're having a pretty good year this year.
Yeah.
You just don't want to say so because it's 2020 and you don't want to rub it in. Those 2 guys are all over Venom this year. And when Cullen was writing it, it was at the peak of the second tier of books. There's all those like top books, and then Venom was like at the top of the second tier. And then when Donny Cates took it over, it just blew everybody away. And at least in our little thing, Venom is a top seller.
I don't know what H means. That's You're on Tom King.
Yeah, I don't know. Going back to last year, I think Batman Annual #2 is one of the best Batman comic books I've ever read, and Lord knows I've read a few, literally 1,000 Batman books.
Yeah, Heroes in Crisis. It was an interesting concept, but it didn't have that punch at the ending.
And yes, Strange Adventures is really awesome. I wouldn't wait for the trade. I would pick up those single issues. But yeah, like I say, Venom is for me anyway, kind of a surprise breakout this year. And might I say to anybody old like me that might not be necessarily drawn to Venom because he's, a little past their time, King in Black is awesome. King in Black #1 was a really, really entertaining read. So if you're a DC person, if you're not a Spider person, whatever your thing is, you should check out King in Black anyway because it was awesome. Mm-hmm. That's my top 2. I have a bit of a nice list, but for comics, my list for the Marvel stuff starts with X Renaissance, X books, and Venom books. I think that's been a huge, huge shot in the arm. And I'll piggyback that with saying Amazing Spider-Man. Spencer's run on Amazing Spider-Man. It was already selling well and doing well. But this last year, Spencer's back to basics method is bringing Amazing Spider-Man back to where it should be. It should be the biggest book Marvel has.
You got a couple more
on your list? Then it's my personal list. Empire. Empire was really, really fun. Empire was a great event. If you're an Avengers fan, a Fantastic Four fan like I am, you've been loving Avengers this year. It's been a really, really great read. It's been like Amazing Spider-Man, like I've said a lot about Marvel books, kind of a back to basics, give us what we want and do it really well thing. So Avengers and Fantastic Four have been as good as they've been in years and years and years and years. And when they tied it together with Empire, that was a ton of fun. And really quick, I'll say 2 big things about Empire, spoiler-esque. One, it brings to a close things that have been rolling out in the Marvel Universe all my life, literally, since the Kree Skrull War of the 1970s. In the early 70s, one of the original events, before they had event books, was the Kree-Skrull War that happened in the Avengers title. And that's where they established this massive intergalactic thing and the Kree and the Skrull and this thing that rages throughout the entire cosmos. And it has raged through the entire cosmos for 50 years. And Empire finally addresses that and brings that to not a conclusion, but to a new state, and that was really fun. I don't want to say too much about it, but it addresses the Kree-Skrull War, which has been a thing in Marvel forever. So as an old school fan, that was fun. The second thing was, it wasn't horribly depressing. It wasn't, all smiley. Everybody's, well, it's Disney now, so everything has to have a happy ending. It wasn't really the point. It was just like superhero stuff kind of should be. It doesn't have to end with catastrophic death. It can just be something that happens and something changes, and you can have an event. You can have a major event without killing thousands of people. And every event always has, worlds living and dying and all this stuff. No, that's fine. I'm not against any of that. I got to the end of Empire and was like, wow, that was strangely light and fun and optimistic rather than heavy and dark and, oh my God, I can't believe the hero finally pulled it out. So I really, really enjoyed it. I love the crossover. I love the mini books. I love the attention that Fantastic Four is getting, because they never get any attention, even though it's been one of their best books for 20 years, et cetera, et cetera. So great year for Avengers and Fantastic Four fans.
And aggressively relaxing, I love that name, is agreeing with you. Empire was amazing. Dan Slott could do no wrong in 2020.
That's true. Dan Slott is also on that Cullen Bunn list of folks who just entertained the hell out of me in this horribly unentertaining year.
Now I haven't checked out the new Dreaming, but I'm glad to hear that Dreaming Waking Hours you thought it was better than the original, so I'll check it out. Anything Black Label should be on your list, really.
That's kind of true. That's kind of true. There's two things people have on their list: all Black Label stuff, and a lot of guys have all Image #1s.
That's smart.
And I think both of those are very smart.
Yeah.
You should get the first issue of any Image book, and you should get the first issue of any Black Label book.
And AWA and Aftershock.
And Aftershock. And if you don't like them, that's fine. But if you do, then you already have the first issue, and you don't have to pay $20 for it. So
you got one more on your list there.
Well, I'm going to talk a little of that when I get to our new this week stack.
Okay.
So,
should we go into the naughty list?
If you like,
or
that was my Marvel nice list. Can I do my DC nice list? And then we can do the naughty list. I always feel like I talk too much on this show, but that's okay. Okay, so my DC nice list is Brian Michael Bendis' Superman, and this will take just a bit of history. A million years ago,
comfy, kids.
I bought Action Comics number 600 off the stand. It's got an amazing John Byrne cover of Superman kissing Wonder Woman.
I was waiting for how long it's going to take for you to mention John Byrne.
I always get around to it
22
sooner or later.
minutes in, John Byrne.
So Action Comics 600 was 1986, 1988, whatever it was, long time ago.
All right.
I was still in school, but they weren't teaching cursive yet. Side joke. So it was Action Comics 600 that the bell rang. Wow, maybe someday I'll read Action Comics 1000. Maybe, Action Comics will be a book that makes it to that 4-digit number.
Cool.
Decades go by. Action Comics 1000 comes, and it's the first, among many stories, it has the first story from Brian Michael Bendis' Superman run. And I waited 20-something years for Action Comics number 1000, and I was rewarded. It sent me on Bendis's takeover of the super books with Action and Superman and side books and things, and I've enjoyed the heck out of every bit of it. It is, for a Superman fan, it was everything. It reminded me of Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. If you were a Green Lantern fan and
high praise indeed,
they brought back Hal Jordan, and you were stoked to see them bring back Hal Jordan. And not only did they bring him back, they gave him his own book, and they made that book awesome. And they brought back Sinestro, and they made him awesome. It was everything a Green Lantern fan ever wanted, and it became anything any comic fan ever wanted. And I personally feel that Bendis' Superman run is that same thing. I have heard all my life, I don't read Superman because I don't like Superman because
he's not Batman.
Exactly. I don't like Superman. Blah 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 blah. Well, to all of you, I say that if you read the either first volume of Superman or Action Comics of the Bendis run, you will, if it doesn't change your mind, you will at least understand why there are people that really enjoy reading Superman. New characters, old characters given new life, on and on and on I could go. But the Bendis run of the Super Books is definitely a high point of 2020 comics.
Nice summary there.
There you go.
What about Green Lantern? You're a fan of that too this year.
I have that on my list as well. Yes, Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp doing some classic Hal Jordan Green Lantern was also a high point of 2020 comics. Some of the best art I've seen in comics in a long time. Liam Sharp, you are the man.
Yeah, he is. Local. Nice guy. Anything else on the nice list?
I guess last I'll say Shazam. I have a few other things, but Shazam, Eaglesham's run on Shazam kind of flew under everybody's radar because it was horribly late, like a lot of books are. So a lot of people gave up on it. Buy the trade. Just a brilliant use of the character and something I think anybody would enjoy reading.
Nice.
So that's my nice list for the big two.
Nice list. Should we move into the naughty
now
list?
Let's see who made the naughty list.
Naughty. So I should qualify this. Naughty, this is all my own personal subjective opinion. It has nothing to do with our store sales. It has nothing to do with the publisher or the writers or the artists. It just kind of felt a little flat to me personally as a reader. Okay. Or it got overly complicated, which is the first one. Dark Metal. I know I'm going to get some, thumbs down on that, but Dark Metal was way, and still is, it's still going, way too crazy, way too complicated, and as I've said this before, I'll say it again. As a writer myself, I find that jumping timelines and or adding new dimensions is lazy writing. Oh, you know what? I want to have a dinosaur that's a Batman guy. Let's create a Earth number 27. You know what? I want to have a female Batman. Have we seen a female Batman? No, sexist. Hello, Scott Snyder. Earth number 22. It's just, it was fun at first. Greg Capullo's art cannot be beat. Totally fun, totally out there. It should have been a 6-issue single book, done. All these offshoots, give me a break. They're $8 or $9. I don't want to pay that, and I pay cost. It just feels like they're milking something that was a great idea and a great concept, but maybe should have been edited down and kept into maybe one main title and 2 or 3 side books. So for me this year, Dark Metal. Sorry, Scott. It was a bit more of a miss than a hit for me personally.
Love that Capullo art, but it was just a bit too much. It's just a bit too much.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I'll let you say that one because that's one you've got a strong opinion about too. See, the other one that kind of laid flat for me was the introduction of Punchline as a character in the DCU. Neat idea, Batman. What makes Batman great is his villains. Batman villains are the best. He's got the best rogue gallery in any universe, DC, Marvel, Image. I don't care. He's got the best. Penguin, Riddler, Joker, they are top notch. That is the echelon gold standard of villains are in the DCU, in my personal opinion. So when you're going to be introducing a new villain that can go toe-to-toe with Batman and toe-to-toe with the Joker, that character needs to be on it. They need to be interesting, have depth, have something that the reader can sink their teeth into. Have
motive.
Any and all things. And the sycophant Joker fan in a college dorm turned, Punchline, that was, that was just, it didn't hold up to the standards of the rogue gallery that has been the mainstay of what makes Batman great over the decades. So for me, it was nice, but more again of a miss than a hit.
I'm
looking at the comments.
Can't disagree with that. I kind of what you said. If you're gonna come up with a Bat villain, that Bat villain needs to have an A game.
Like Zaz.
How
Zaz
does,
is
like
the new
Zaz,
villain. He's
like,
great.
you
I
know,
love
but
Zaz.
how does this, like I say, this person in a dorm room like go toe to toe with Harley Quinn,
Like overnight,
who's been like fighting for years? And anyway.
Anywho.
So staying on the DC naughty list, I'm sorry, but Doomsday Clock gets my naughty list pick. I had such high hopes for this book, and I really enjoyed it about halfway through. And then it just, I felt like frankly DC has a history of doing. It didn't. They changed the end. I'm just certain that they had an idea of where it was going, and they didn't do it. And I felt like I say, I was totally into it. Love the art. And it's a super book. You know, they the whole thing teases this conflict between Dr. Manhattan and Superman. So I'm waiting for the big moment. And honestly, I just didn't get it at the end. I just didn't get it. I thought the last couple issues just I don't know, didn't follow through with the promise. I think what they pitched and what they delivered weren't exactly the same thing. And it's tough to say. You know, I'm always one that guards my expectation. I let them tell their story, just like a movie. I just go watch the movie. I don't have any predisposition. But it was supposed to be the biggest book of the year. It was supposed to be this huge event thing. And at the end of the day, it just kind of wasn't. I expected it to have some big impact on the DCU, and I never saw the impact. We still don't know how the Button got into the Batcave. Just as an example, just to throw something out there, it all starts with Batman finding the Button in the Batcave. How did it get there? Whatever. Anyway, I don't know.
That was in Batman and Flash, like issue 22 and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just, like I say, it didn't seem to. It was supposed to turn into something.
So you might be in the minority here.
I'm sure, and that's how comics go. I'm not putting my opinion on anyone. I'm just saying that I didn't get it. And Aggressively Relaxed says the last issue was beautiful, and it was. I just didn't understand how it related to the rest of the story.
And do we realize Doomsday Clock and Watchmen are essentially the same story?
Sort of.
I did like the Sandman cameo in Doomsday Clock. I found that fun and interesting.
I wanted it to be. I wanted you to realize that when Dr. Manhattan left the Watchmen universe, he came to our universe and made Crisis. I wanted them to explain that all of the different reboots and everything was Dr. Manhattan trying to get it right. And I don't know, and we didn't really get that.
I try to judge, you know, even stuff I didn't like. I try to judge it by if I remember it months later. And if I had to describe to you Doomsday Clock, I don't know that I could. And that either means that the writer failed and showcasing their story and their plot, or I failed as a reader to really grasp what he was trying to say. But I don't have strong memories about what that book was even about, you know? Right.
Well, and that's kind of my thing, is that I don't, though I will agree with this, what they're saying about the end of it. I like optimism. I do like that yes, that it does define what makes Superman Superman and why he's important to the universe. And that's as a Superman fan and as a DC fan, I think that's intrinsically critical to DC Comics, and something that gets lost a lot, frankly. That DC and comics in general are supposed to leave you with optimism, not with depression. And at the end, you know, yes, Superman saves him because that's what he does. He saves people. But I don't know. I didn't feel it.
I think it was also challenging because it took way too long between issues. Like, it should have been a year long. It was like 12 issues, but it took like two and a half years for that book to come out. So there's long stretches of time in between issues, and a lot of people kind of forgot the buildup. And it's one of those books where you kind of need it monthly to remember, this happened. Here's all the little, Easter eggs in this issue. You got to remember that for the next issue. And even still, I read it, all 12 issues when they all came out. When the issue 12 came out, I read them all, in one sitting. And again, if I had to describe what I read, I don't know that I could.
True. And I agree with that too. Marionette and Mime are very cool. And I'll read anything from Gary Frank because I think he's awesome. Let me say, so as to not seem super negative, I enjoyed the book. If my biggest complaint is I give it like a C, that's still pretty darn good.
You just wanted it to end a certain way and it didn't.
Well, I just didn't get it. I mean, you're right. Yes, I wanted it to end a certain way, but that wasn't my disappointment. My disappointment was that issue 12 didn't seem to relate to the previous 11 issues.
Yeah.
Which was kind of my thing with Final Crisis and kind of my thing with a few DC events. But we have other things to get to.
A couple more. Just the only other thing, honestly, I don't have a lot on my naughty list, which is surprising because I sound negative, huh? But I really enjoyed a lot of stuff this year. My nice list is like 5 times longer than my naughty list. The only other thing I can think of for this show was the DC's Halloween special this year. I love their seasonal things. Their summer books, their winter books, their, we had the Christmas.
The Christmas one was great.
Yeah, all great. My one critique about the Halloween one is I think the last 2 stories had nothing to do with horror or Halloween or anything. I'm like, these are just random stories that they kind of slipped in there and thought we wouldn't notice.
Nobody reads to the end anyway.
That was my only complaint. The rest of the stories were good, but it was just like, I don't know why this is in this book right now. So those were the only 2 complaints I had.
Yeah, I do tend to like those specials, but they gotta be scary. If you're gonna do Halloween, you gotta. But I did like the recent winter one. That was a lot of fun.
I haven't finished it.
People are talking about that Harley story, and that was.
Dude, that Harley story was rough. Rough. No pulling any punches on that one.
You mentioned. I'm trying to think of some of the other things I read. I haven't been keeping up with enough Image things since Black Science ended. But you mentioned Department of Truth. Which
so really good on the nice list.
Spawn came back really big this year too, which was fun.
That's true.
I had speaking of Image books, I had a good time with Spawn raging back.
Yeah. I don't read much Marvel, can you tell? But from a sales perspective, what was kind of disappointing were Werewolf by Night and Shang-Chi. Like we sold, an okay amount of number 1 and then 0 of number 2. And so that makes me sad.
Yeah. Sometimes
I thought those would be big
issue
big
2s do make me sad because you'll sell a ton of issue 1s and of course some people they buy them just because they're the number 1s. But when number 2, number 3 totally bombs, that means people didn't really like the one they read. And that's kind of sad.
They didn't hook them.
It didn't hook them. But yeah, like I said, all in all, 2020 had some great for the kind of year that it was. Mm-hmm. With the stoppage of production of new comics and the stoppage of distribution of new comics and all the challenges that the publishers faced, that the retailers faced, the creators faced, everything that we all went through this year. We still got a great batch of great comics, and that was a whole lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad you like Shang-Chi. That's great.
It's a good example of something.
Tell your friends, because nobody else is reading it.
What do I think of the?
So repeat the question.
Yeah, the question for the folks over here. What do you think of DC switching to lunar distribution when Diamond paused their stuff? At first I had a big problem with it, just because the timing was horrible. Last thing anybody in the industry needed around March, April, May was all of the upheaval. You folks at home don't understand what the retailers go through with distributors. And you hear all about Diamond, and you hear guys like me complain about Diamond all the time, and all of those things are true, and I don't discount any of those things. But the middle of a tornado is not when somebody says, let's go to a new shelter. No, the tornado's up there. Weird example, but just to say the timing was terrible.
Yeah.
That being said, when I got used to it, like a lot of retailers, it was fine and hasn't really affected us too much. And in fact is probably, dare I say it, a bit of a positive. And yes, it affects us hugely. Like I say, at a time we didn't really need any more difficulties. But as comics do, we figured it out and we made it work and we made it happen. And now, Lunar's fine. I like using them and I'm sure other retailers do too.
We had to learn a whole new system. We had to learn how to order. We had to learn how to report damages. We had to learn, they don't have ordering just like Diamond. You order once from them, really. You don't have an opportunity to order multiple times like you do at Diamond. So our numbers had to be spot on. And so it was much more of a challenge in a time, like you said, that we were already like underwater. It was such a stressful time. That was the most insensitive and horribly planned thing that DC could have done at that moment. But now
it put them on the naughty list. It put them on the naughty list.
DC was on the you're getting a lump of coal list. They were not our favorite.
No, I threw that coal in the fire and they got nothing. But they've worked their way back, and so I don't. And to be fair, let me just say that this year everybody had to do what they had to do.
Yeah.
And DC felt that that's what they had to do, and they did it. I can't criticize anybody for doing what they had to do this year.
They did it to get out. They did it at that moment in time to get out of their exclusive contract with Diamond. Once Diamond said, we're stopping production, that broke the DC contract. So that's why Lunar did it why DC pulled out when they could have. Otherwise, they would have had to pay like some exclusivity fee or whatever for breaking contract. That's what I believe. That's what I read.
I'm 90% sure that's true. They saw it out and they took it.
That's why they did it then.
It's important to remember one thing that gets totally lost on all conversations about all things comics. At the end of the day, this is a business. Just like Hanover Pretzels or whoever else you want to talk about.
Logitech.
Whoever you want to talk about. At the end of the day, people need to sell stuff and pay people. And so, as I say, in a year like this, I can't blame anybody for doing what they got to do to sell their stuff and to pay people.
Yeah. Anything on the naughty list you have?
No, I don't really. I was too busy putting together my nice list.
That's okay. We don't have to.
With lots of stuff.
I bashed enough for the both of us.
Well, it's not a bashing. It's just that's comics. Like there's going to be good stuff. So we're allowed to talk about things that might have missed the mark for us.
I have more highlights.
Love it.
So some highlights from this year is what was been born from the pandemic is this Shop Talk Live.
Comic Shop Talk Live.
So this has been really fun. We've had some special guests. We've had legendary Jim Zub. We've had editor-in-chief Mike Martz of Aftershock. We had comic artist, enthusiast, and friend of Black Cat, Mick Gray, Josh Frankel, Steve Wyatt, and of course, our local artist, our family, Immortal. So thank you to all of them for participating. Thank to all of you for participating. This has been a really fun show. We'll have to think about, are we going to do it again next year? I don't know. We'll think about it. But it's a nice, good, positive thing to come out of the pandemic is being able to share and talk like this. Since we can't do it in person, we can do it this way. So that's been fun.
I always wanted to turn the podcast into this. We did the podcast for a long time and it was fun. But I wanted something more interactive. I wanted a show. I wanted visuals. I wanted you to be able to see comics while we were talking. I wanted to be able to show you art that we were looking at. And so shifting the podcast to this format was a lot of fun for me personally. And having special guests, having an Avengers writer on my show was a bucket list sort of thing. So that was a lot of fun. So as she said, thank you all for giving us this platform and for interacting and all that, because
that's been a highlight.
Because it was a big plus for the show. Kind of like Matchbox versus Hot Wheels.
Oh, that's fun.
Wanted to bring you guys some live sports. So we started doing Matchbox versus Hot Wheels, and that's been a lot of fun.
It's on Facebook for you guys on YouTube if you want to check it out.
Sundays, 2 p.m.
That's right.
So yeah, that was definitely a couple of high points for 2020.
Yeah, and honestly, our online store has been booming.
Yes, bringing black-cat-comics.com to the masses. We've seen a huge response in the last few weeks from out-of-state folks, all you folks in Oregon, Florida, Texas that have been ordering from us, North Carolina. We got a lot of Florida orders. Yeah. So really appreciate that. A lot of folks locally, a lot of folks San Jose, Fremont, here in the Bay Area, making use of the website, keeping us going. We really appreciate that. Just like reaching new people and reaching a wider audience. And again, nobody would want to do 2020 over again. But you know, if you have to go through these things, you got to not only do your best, but you got to keep your chin up and have your best attitude with it. So
got to ride the wave.
You got to ride the wave, and we've done our best to do that, and tried to have fun doing it, and tried to bring a little of that fun to you guys.
A little levity.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Nerd Busters. I love the Wednesday video. I've been doing the video for over 10 years, been here in the store almost 19 years. And every week is a new stack of stuff, and it's a lot of fun every single week. And it's fun to bring those books to you guys.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys thought was the highlights of 2020. What were hits, what were misses for you? What's on the naughty list? What's on the nice list? Let us know in the comments. Should we talk about what's happening next week and the week after?
Well, do you want to talk of this week's books, or do we just want to? I'm gonna blast through. Okay, because we're running out of time. But it's a comic book show, so you want to see some books for this week, and some of this is some of my favorite stuff of 2020. So, Captain America. Bam! Captain America has had beautiful Alex Ross covers all year long. I'm a huge Cap fan, and the stories have been great. The art's been great, but I mean, come on. Any Alex Ross cover is worth $4 a month, so that's been a blast. Fantastic Four, new this week. Previously mentioned, one of my favorite books, always has been, and is as good as it's been in years and years. You can jump in on this one. So pick up Fantastic Four because it's awesome. Immortal Hulk was one we alluded to earlier. This is definitely one of my books of the year, and this one has the Thing and the Hulk in the same issue. I buy anything that has the Thing and the Hulk in the same issue. Go back if you can find one. It's been out of print forever. Find a trade paperback called Thing Hulk Hard Knocks. It's one of the best Hulk Thing books you'll ever read in your life. Superman number 28. This is the last issue of Bendis's Superman run. You'll laugh, you'll cry. It will be a part of you for the rest of your life. Green Lantern number 10. This is season 2, number 10. We're 2 issues away from, again, one of the books of 2020. Grant Morrison, Liam Sharp is a team up that I will read. I would read those guys do anything at all. And I'm a big Hal Jordan. Crap, that's our pickup. Excuse me, guys.
Black Cat Comics, this is Francie. All right, so then I will jump in and share some of my favorites for this week that I haven't read yet. So I want to spend a minute talking about Miskatonic. So 1920s female FBI agent who is called to a remote area off the eastern coast to investigate a murder mystery. And it just so happens to be a murder mystery that takes place in the world of H.P. Lovecraft. So there's some weird, you can see, is that maybe Cthulhu? Who knows? I don't know. I haven't read it yet. But it's fun. It's great. The art is awesome. Yeah, I can show you that. The art is awesome. Great color, great pacing, and great unique story. So I'm all into that. The other thing about this week, we get the final issue, 12 of 12 of Batman's Grave. by Warren Ellis. So much like Doomsday Clock, I've been saving these up. Now that issue 12's out, I can read them all at once. So I'm excited to have this for my holiday reading in the next couple of weeks. So I should mention that we're going to be closed for the holidays. So Kazi and I like to take the week in between Christmas and New Year's off. It's the only week we get off in the year. And so we will have books ready for this Wednesday, the 23rd. And then we'll close our doors on
minor technical difficulty.
Thursday, the 24th through, I think it's Friday, the 1st. So new books that are due out on December 30th will be available for pickup and for our online store on Saturday, January 2nd. So mark your calendars on that. So we're going to be closed up. We'll still get new books for the week of the 30th. They'll just be delayed a couple of days as we finish up our vacay. I think that's it.
There you go. And yes, McFarlane toys were a big thing this year. That's definitely a big, big plus. Him taking over DC Direct or taking the place of DC Direct is really, really huge. And I really like that too. Okay, so we didn't talk too much about the great stuff of 2020 from the indie guys. I've got a few things for this week that will be definitive of that. They're all science fiction books because I love science fiction. They'll give me a quick plug for some of these other publishers. Deja Thoris is new this week. Doesn't get any more classic science fiction than Warlord of Mars, and Dynamite does a great, great job with their Warlord of Mars, Deja Thoris stuff. Rye is one of the best science fiction books out there, and has some really, really great art. The original Valiant stuff, Rise stuff from the 90s was top notch, and this is one of the best books that the new Valiant does. Blade Runner 2029. First issue started this week. 2019 wrapped up. That's a 12-issue run. Now it's 2029. This is your Titan book. Titan does all kinds of really, really great stuff. All of the independent guys, if you want something that's not superhero, have 3 different other independent publishers on your list because they all do great stuff like Blade Runner and like Firefly. This is the Boom Studios thing from this week. Just to throw out some of the other publishers that do great stuff. Boom Studios does great stuff. Everybody should have a Boom book. Everybody should have a Valiant book. Everybody, you know, I say every week on the Wednesday video that all the different publishers make at least one book that you would want to read if you knew about it and checked it out. So I know we talk a lot about Marvel and DC stuff. There's more than enough Marvel and DC stuff to fill your time and your budget. But if you love comics, check out all the other guys, AWA, Aftershock, all kinds of folks that we talk about, Titan, Boom, Dynamite, obviously Vault, Image, Vault, Scout. There's just tons and tons of great publishers doing great work. So if you love comics, you owe it to yourself to go to those other websites and try some new titles.
So this will be our last show for a while.
Oh, that's true. It's our last. We won't be here next Saturday.
Or the Saturday after.
Or... well, I guess not, because we'll be doing pickups. That'll
be too busy.
Be too busy with
new comic day.
You told
Saturday.
Everybody about the shebang.
Yep.
Right on.
Go ahead.
I say enough.
Oh, I could have said so many things right then, but I'm being the good partner and the good wife by just keeping it in. So we just want to say, you know, thank you guys so much for all your support this year. It's been rocky. You've been flexible with us. You've done curbside with us. You've supported us, and you've given us gifts and kind emails and just all kinds of niceties. So from the bottom of our hearts, just thank you for all your support. We do it because we love it, but also we do it because of you guys. So as long as you guys keep, you know, loving comics, we'll keep trying to sell them to you. So thanks again. Wishing you and your families safe, happy, healthy holidays and a way better year than this one.
All those things. Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, guys. Until next time. Happy
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.